Hello, students. Good morning. That is the time that I make this video. I don't know whatever time you can watch, but try to make a better effect. I'm skipping my breakfast before the recording, so hopefully no more coughing like last time. And I apologize for last time. So anyway, the subject of this class today is about insurance. Back in my days, when I first got into this maritime industry in the United States, getting a what they call insurance house broker, or so-called IHB, the license was not that tough as supposedly today. Back then, if I could get myself two guys or ladies in the same industry as the reference, basically vouching for me, like, oh, I know what I'm doing, I would just automatically get a custom broker license. So over the years, it becomes tougher and tougher, and some are even claiming this is even getting tougher than get a bar license as a lawyer or future lawyer. So what is the part that's getting so tough today or these days? Namely, I would say it's all about the new regulation compliance, okay, the requirements. So I think it's very important I have to bring this up before we proceed to the, I guess, core part of the class today, which is it doesn't matter who you work for these days. The custom regulation requirement compliance is mandatory. Okay, so if you're in the shipping or logistic or whatever they call themselves, the responsibility fall on your shoulder. And I mean, actually by the code, criminal and civil. Okay, so if anything goes wrong, you will be subject to the penalty, including like I don't remember how many days in jail sentence, and up to 2,000, 4,000, whatever, basically keep going up, the monetary fines. So the corporate obviously will carry certain responsibility, but the individual, I actually mentioned this earlier in one of the previous classes. I actually brought over the U.S. Custom training material. By the way, some of you still have that in your hands. So I would strongly recommend, if you're in the business, go take the training with the U.S. Customs Authority. It takes about 1 week or so, at least back then when I took it. And it's not that expensive. I'm sure your employer could afford. You do need to know today from this class that you need to educate your employer in case they don't know. They need to know because it's a very serious business. So in the bigger companies, they do have designated what they call compliance manager, or some call it compliance specialist. And most likely those people have PhDs because they could probably figure out what among their product line, some have like a product line of 500 items. So how does that correspond to the U.S. harmonized code tariff? They are to figure all that out, okay? So the 3PL working for you, they are supposed to do their due diligence, but if anything goes wrong, they're not legally responsible, okay? So it's your job, your duty, your obligation to tell your 3PL which code to basically declare, before the U.S. Customs Authority. So the 3PL, namely, all they do is logistic, basically the paperwork. They don't really decide for you, and they're not supposed to, and they should not decide for you. What let's say you are a smoker, right? So within this category of cigarettes, it could be divided further into subcategories. Okay, so which is in corresponding to which harmonized code, in the U.S. custom tariff. That part, the 3PL do the fighting, but you need to tell them what is the code. You gave them the wrong code, you're responsible. So why does that matter? Because the U.S. custom always have some countries on the tariff to be banned. Okay, so of course, you always have to give the right code, but a lot of time for the export control, if you're shipping some stuff, to the People's Republic China or whatever other country, at the time was under the ban, the U.S. ban, okay? Cannot export certain things to certain countries at certain time. God, you got to keep up with all this stuff, because if you don't, you might get yourself in trouble, see you in jail or something. I'm not scaring you. That actually could happen. Okay, at least it did happen. And just give you a little hint, what could, how far could that go? I'm not the citizen of China, okay? But if I still was, and you pass on some document supposedly export control, and I work for you, but I'm a Chinese citizen, and I read it, legally this constitutes re-export because I am a Chinese citizen if I were, okay? So you let me read this stuff, okay, baby, you're in trouble because you're letting this stuff, the sensitive content to a Chinese. Wow, that is a big deal, okay? Well, obviously, I'm American, but what if I still was a Chinese? You better know this stuff. So if you don't know, you need to get to know, okay? With the legal authority, you cannot tell them, oh, I don't know what I don't know. That doesn't fly, okay? Especially after today's class, you're educated on that part. So that's for the U.S. custom control for that part, specific portion of it. And then we move to the, let me see, marine and air cargo. Basically, as far, let me explain a little bit. Back in the Maritime Academy when I was in the undergraduate, we had extensive training. So upon graduation, we split the graduates of my class altogether that year, 22 or 23, okay? So we split into 3 industries. One is basically maritime law, become either judge or lawyer, maritime law practice. And then the other one is what I did, which basically went to work for the steamship lines. And the third one, this is interesting. Whoops, wrong finger. The third one is basically the 1/3 of the graduates went into insurance, eventually became the insurance executives. So as their former classmates, I actually got some business by representing the insurance underwriter or insurance carrier, basically, to represent them in my own business. When I had it, I had my own MVOCC, and so of course all MVOC back then, they also sell insurance too, and so did I. So I had some, I guess, insurance, either you call it agent or broker. I didn't have like resell to other parties. Basically, just whatever I was doing trading, I was exporting stuff to overseas, and I was importing. So I put insurance on it by myself, save time and money. I didn't really actively go out solicit other business, no. But nevertheless, to tell you all this is to basically telling you that I did have the first-hand experience on the cargo insurance. Marine air back then, it's basically all the same. It doesn't make any difference. It's just the transportation mode is different, but cargo insurance basically. So let's see. So why do you even insure anything? Well, things happen in your life all the time, right? I would presume all of you, or at least all of you should, if not do, have the insurance on your automobiles, right? So you don't know if you actually need it but you still do cover the insurance. Of course, it's required by law. Whereas in the marine, cargo insurance is not required by anybody except for probably your boss. Because things do happen all the time, right? I got into the maritime industry a very long time ago, long before you guys were born. So I've seen a lot of things, and a lot of things did happen. So I think for the insurance rate back then, I was charging my customers was symbolically 0.3%. Okay. So today you probably have to buy insurance and pay a little higher on the premium, but still it's worth it. It's worth it. If you don't pay for the insurance, anything happen, that loss is not covered. So what is insurance? Insurance is a probability of risk being underwritten by certain insurance carriers, right? So if things happen, okay, you submit your claim and follow their procedure, and they are supposed to adjust the claim and to pay you back. Of course, there's always a deductible. I mean, you guys, you have your auto insurance, you know how that works. Except for in this case, this is marine cargo, air cargo. So let's presume you are shipping something out of China, something really cheap but really good design and quality, allegedly good quality, and you sell them to, let's say, somebody in Brazil, okay? And this thing comes through the U.S. custom, cleared, and going out from here to Brazil, because you're just one little guy or one little girl, right? So you don't have a big business operation, but hey, you gotta, have the insurance, and you gotta, do this custom clearance. So how do you? And here could be a problem. Okay, it's a very technical thing. Your first bills of lading come in, okay, cover from China and U.S. You give any whatever port, okay. Let's just take Houston, since that's where we are, and then from Houston you basically ship it to Brazil. And I'm gonna presume there's no direct shipping between China and Brazil, and that's why you can basically use Houston as a hot port for what we call transshipment. So when you have two bills of lading, okay, back to back, but these two, they're issued by two definitely different carriers, at least in this case scenario. So you can you insure from China, I forgot whichever city I mentioned, or if I mentioned at all, and to Brazil, to, let's say, São Paulo, okay? So you got a two bills of lading. So typically the insurance does not extend, all the way beyond the first bills of lading. So if you have the two bills of ladings covering two separate carriages, chances are you gotta have separate insurance, because typically they feel more comfortable to have the insurance coverage go with the same coverage of the bills of lading. So in this case, you would have two cargo insurance. So I'm just pointing out all this technical stuff, and be careful, because if you don't, you could get caught and really face the consequences, financial consequences, the impact. And so that was that. And then, so let me see. So of course, basically having the insurance is a one way to mitigate the risk financially. You can't actually recover all the risk in case of many projects, the bigger projects, okay? So then, I'm trying to find out. Okay, yeah. This is something I also talked about in a previous class before, that I was on a project. I was a chartering broker for a Class A EPC who was doing a project for a very big, one of the biggest oil companies in Europe. And the EPC sourced some, let's say, structure steel or steel structure, whatever, basically the steel racks, that sort of thing. Nothing fancy, very simple, right? But those are bulky cargo. So I got a chance to go in to pick up shipment from Thailand. And I look at the packing list. Of course, as a charter broker, that's the first thing you do before you do anything else. I look at the packing list, right? So the weight, the dimensions. So I talked to a steamship line and said, okay, I need a ship that actually can accommodate, this space. And so I talked a little bit, and they allowed on-deck storage. On-deck storage basically is the risk is at the shippers, that EPC. But they know most people, I would say 99% people, have to allow on deck because hey, steel structure, there's nothing fancy there. On deck storage, typically when you place things on the deck, the main deck, the freight rate is a whole lot cheaper, so they can save money. And there's nothing, and we would put tarp on it and all that, so make sure there's no damage to the exterior, to the surface. And of course they approved. So I calculated the main deck space for the ship, and I thought it was great. And then of course how much weight, and I made sure I made the arrangement the crane can handle that. And then we most chartering brokers, a lot of them, they never even saw the cargo or the ship that they were handling, just basically on paper only, getting on the phone. Okay. But I guess I'm a more responsible chartering broker. I didn't charge my customer extra money, but I flew to Thailand 2 weeks prior to the shipment. The ship arrived to pick up the shipment. I want to check it out, do a on-site survey, making sure there's no problem. Basically that's the way I do business. I want to identify and mitigate all the risks before it happened. So I arrived, and before I went there, 2 weeks before my arrival in Thailand, I actually notified everybody in writing. I said, these are the things I want you to tell me in black and white, yes or no. Do you have this? Do you have that? And all the answer, that was so encouraging. Everything was yes, back to me, yes. So when I arrived, turned out everything was a no. And so I'm like, guys, I thought you guys told me yes in black and white. And they're like, oh, you were asking about certificates? In this country, we can give you whatever certificate you want. That kind of reminded me about the, how US dollar is printed in the US. Okay. I was just glad, okay, I was 2 weeks prior, before the ship arrived. So I still had some time to adjust. And then what I realized was, it was a practice, not by all shippers in Thailand, but by quite a few, okay? And which, of course, I would recommend to put all these guys on the blacklist. Next time, you do a lot more job to verify. And why? Because they typically practice in a pattern, under declare the weight, the dimension. Okay, this is only because I had this case in Thailand. Okay, so I don't know, there might be some other country the business people practice the same way, but this is Thailand. I guess what I can tell you with confidence is I never experienced the same thing in Japan, okay? And certainly not in the US, not in Europe. There are other places, but I'm not doing the politically incorrectly, generalization. No, I'm just sharing with one case scenario in Thailand, okay? So anyway, back to the point. When let's just throw some random number here, okay? So when this thing measures 20 meters or somewhere around like 60 feet, right? Let's say long, and you got 5 of them. And on the packing list, because the packing list is what they declare with their own customs authorities. Instead of a 20 meter or 60, somewhere 60 feet long, okay, roughly. I don't remember exactly the conversion, but instead of 20 meters, they put 14 meters, okay? So 40 meter, let's say is the length, right? So what about the height? What about the width, right? So when they give you the 3 dimensions proportionally much shorter. So what does that mean? That means because this is FOB port, so they don't care about the shipping. All they care is about, basically the saving over their custom duty, right, out of their pocket. So when the EPC send the ship over, the EPC basically booked the shipping space on board the ships exactly as the dimension on the packing list. So the EPC got burned. The first ship they send in, the ship go there, oh no, I don't have the space sufficiently, adequately to accommodate all this because they turn out to be a whole lot bigger, bulkier, okay? I don't have the space. But that wasn't the first, that was the first but not the only reason. Even more important reason, they under-declare the weight of the cargo significantly. So let's presume you have a 100-ton crane, right? Even combined in between, let's say you can achieve, between the two maximum, okay, ultimately 200 metric tons lifting capacity. And this thing is declared as 89 metric ton. And you're like, piece of cake, man. I'll take care of it, baby. But when you arrive, turn out is what it actually is 250 metric tons. Are you going to still do it? You can't. Your ship gear is not prepared for it. So, of course, the first steamship line just basically declared for it is called a dead freight, meaning they have the space, preserved for the EPC to put that cargo on. And the reason beyond the steamship line's reason, but the shipper, which is basically, hey, a party of the contract with the EPC, nothing to do with the steamship line, because steamship line send in the ship on time at the place. Okay, that's their job. So my ship's here, my ship gear hook is ready. It's your job to put this thing here. Okay, so we grab. Oh no, that weight is way beyond what you told me it was. So the steamship line has no responsibility in this case, but to basically, hey, it's my right for me to collect money from you, even though I couldn't carry that thing, but it's your fault. So this EPC did not disclose this information to me, okay? And this EPC went on to hire me for the second ship to go in. I went in. And then I found out what was the problem. So I was trying to help this EPC. So I worked with steamship line and sending the second ship. Remember, the first one is not big enough to take all this stuff with the scheduled voyage. Not too many people are so nice at the steamship line that, oh, the first one didn't work out, let me give you another ship. So I was able to do this. And guess what? At the EPC, they were talking about suing me. And I'm like, okay, baby, you want to go to court? I didn't get all that maritime law for nothing. Let's do it. And I do know for a fact where you did wrong. Okay? So if we go to court, I'm going to claim money from you. The reason I don't want to go to court with EPC is because they're my customer. I don't want to lose my customer. So I want to be nice, remain to be nice. So internally, they coordinated, they had a meeting, and eventually they decided to drop this against me. I already dropped mine against them. But anyway, back to the point. So there I was in Thailand. I brought even more folks from the steamship line. So we try to figure everything out, and then we have the whole thing done, and then put that thing, on, well, actually things, not just one single piece. Put them on the ship, and ship come to the U.S. Gulf area. One port I cannot disclose because of the NDA. And here we had another problem. We brought Big John in and waited for time. And then they had a problem internally at the oil company. Okay, so one design engineer, basically responsible for the way distribution over their private dock, had a problem. So I got several engineers involved, submitted the technical calculation and old plan to basically make sure it does work and based on our calculation. But that guy was on vacation, okay, and he doesn't want to give up his family time to come back. So we were all just waiting. So my steamship lines are really pissed. They got 2 ships sitting there for nothing. And typically you have to charge your customers the demurrage, and that's going to be a lot. So my steamship line said, hey, I got a regular schedule to catch. It's even beyond the demurrage. I don't want my next customer to get pissed because our ships are not in. So this is all I basically faced. But I ironed out all the problem with all parties. But here's the question. What if they did not have Mr. Li there working this? What is their problem solving avenue there, right? So that's where the cargo insurance and air cargo insurance does not cover the whole thing. Okay, so here let me introduce the concept of another insurance, which is called project insurance. I'll bet you a lot of people never had project insurance unless you work for certain companies. So this EPC, they did have project insurance, okay? So that's from day one until this whole thing, turnkey project, you already turned the key, meaning the completion of the project. So it's all covered, anything and everything. Of course, you pay a premium for that too. So when I was in Thailand, I met with this insurance inspector from Singapore working for that company underwritten the policy for this project. And apparently the guy knew what he was doing, and I really appreciate his knowledge, and by which I mean he's Asian and he works in Asia. And my way was too American, and he reminded me, oh, Mr. Li, this is not United States. You got to blah, blah. So anyway, I guess it helped. But the point here is, it's not just marine cargo insurance and air cargo insurance. You need more than that to cover all, because there are certain insurance, items here. And marine cargo or air cargo, where it is, if you're sitting over the airplane, of course it's air cargo, but whichever transportation mode it is, the thing is, one insurance does not cover every risk. So that's where the project insurance come in, and of course you have to pay again. So let's see what else. So in the case, okay, what could happen did happen, right? So you submit your insurance claim. You're like, okay, sir, I paid premium for this. I didn't plan on, but hey, it did happen. So now you owe me. But what happened now? This is the reason why certain oil companies in the US, they choose not to have the insurance underwritten by others, but they do what they call self-insurance, meaning they do the same thing internally as those insurance companies do, but they do it internally. So why they don't go with the external like other folks do? Because if you have your car, breaking down in the middle of the road, what do? Do you just go, oh, let's fix it? No. You pick up phone and you call your insurance carrier, whatever that is, old farmers, or I don't even remember their name, and then they'll tell you, okay, do this, do that. So you have to follow their instruction, okay, step by step, all the way to the T or to the Z, whatever you call it. If you do not comply, okay, they can walk away from, paying you for this because, oh, you violated my blah, blah. So the same thing. If, let's say you have a cargo loaded or being loaded onto the deck of a ship. The reason I'm picking this is they call it overboard. That's how the demarcation is made. What's overboard? This is the ship, you know, the ship's here, and this is the dock. So when the cargo goes here, literally, okay, 1 second beyond over the board, the responsibility shifted from the shipper, whoever the manufacturer is supplying you, to the steamship line. Okay, so when this happens, if it is before that second, the threshold where the turning point of the responsibility shifting, if it happens before that second or that point on this side, the shippers are responsible. If anything, you know, damage to the cargo, they're responsible. If it's passing that point, it's the carrier, steamship line's responsibility. So it doesn't matter which way, okay, whoever is responsible, you have to submit a claim to the insurance company. Okay, this guy has one company, this one has another, or whatever. They're all different, okay? Because on the steamship line, it's different. It's not marine cargo insurance exactly the same as this guy, the shipper. It's a little bit different insurance. But anyway, either one would have to submit a claim. So just like that, in that case that I mentioned about the, you know, your car problem, this is the same thing. You got to submit your claim. And how do you do that? You got to have the evidence of photos, and then they have the, typically it's submitted by, what do we call it, the surveyor, or some call it inspector, the people who are on site, okay, they do this kind of thing. So they have a written report as the expert eyewitness. Oh, this happened on whatever time of a certain day at a certain location, what happened, and here's the photo we submitted. So with that becomes the supporting evidence, materials, statements you submit to the insurance company for the insurance claim. So what happens now? The next step will be taken at the insurance company, and they will allocate one particular adjuster. The adjuster, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, come along and say, I'm going to take a look, review this whole thing, and I'm going to tell you this is good, or I have a question, so you need to satisfy, you know, making sure there's no fraud here, or, you know, basically on your side, you messed up something. If you did, you need to correct now. So this process could be very short, or could be rather long, at least for the people who are waiting for the stuff. So for certain oil companies, they decided this is not worth it. Okay, all that wait, because each day, I repeat it again, each day for oil company, if the daily production capacity multiplied by the market price of the day, that could be anywhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million a day loss. So while you're sitting here waiting for this insurance adjustment decision, baby, we could be talking about $10 million, you know, in the water, right? So does it make sense for the self-insurance? Not to everybody, but maybe it does to someone, okay? So that's about that. Now back about the insurance inspector, what do? They, a lot of time, not every time, a lot of time, they come to the site to check it out. Your claim said this and that. Does it actually check out? So the insurance inspector come here, and then the insurance inspector's report submitted to the claim adjuster is going to be verified again, to use that to verify against what is submitted by the insured, which is you in that case, and to make sure it check out, right? So when it does check out, so hey, everything's satisfied, you get your money. So if let's say there's a piece of capital equipment, right, and it's being shipped, and then it was damaged. Of course, you know, the first thing makes sense is to send it back to the manufacturer to repair the damage and make sure it works. And it's not about a cosmetic repair; it's actually the function, right? So in this case, once again, the oil company cannot, it's not about, oh, I don't pay extra money out of my pocket. But when you send it back to repair, that takes time too. So anyway, also I mentioned the word, the surveyor. In that case, back in Thailand, I hired the local surveyor, and that's why I could, collect the evidence and use it as proof against the shipper and the EPC who sent me there with the false information. I don't want to say the false intent, but at least false information provided to me. So it's pretty cheap to hire a, cargo surveyor, or in certain countries called a measurement surveyor. So all the guy does is basically walk in, measure up. So you got a 3D dimension, right? How does he get the weight? I have no idea. Sometimes he doesn't report that. Sometimes he gives you the estimate that, based on the historical data he collected. So as a reference, not really to use it exactly as it is. But still, you get the picture, okay? This is where I believe when you go into certain country, and that doesn't have to be Thailand, okay? Certain country, when in practice they have that history, you do want to hire the local measurement surveyor. And there are things I don't want to say here. I don't want to get myself in political trouble, but there's certain things that you got to do, okay? Nobody teaches you that in textbook because it may not appear to be politically correct. So you do that, and you got to have the port captain. And here about the port captain, we all, at least personally, I do have the favorable port captain at different ports, because otherwise you have to fly, your personal port captain all around the world and pay for all that, traveling costs. That's a little expensive for me, because all that I did out of my own pocket. I didn't charge my customer for it. So why do we have to have favorable local port captain? Because some port captains, they show up, they punch the clock. So attendance is there, okay? But the performance, I don't know. So what I called the port captain hired by my customer, this is not the same case, it's a separate case. Again, I was a charter broker. I called I hired the local people, took the picture of the port captain hired by my customer. All the time, he was in the, what do we call, bridge, up on the bridge. Bridge is where the captain, I guess the nicest place on the ship. He was there, he's inside, on the bridge, all the time. And so I was just waiting, right? And then this port captain, the picture he sent back to his customer, you can tell the picture shooting down through the glasses. Obviously that was from bridge. So that just basically supported the statement from my local source that this port captain, he's too fragile to go outside there, to work under direct sunshine. So was he supervising the loading or discharging operation as he's paid to do? You tell me. So I pointed out to my customer, said, look at that picture. Where do you think that was, taken from? The guy shot the picture through the window from the bridge. So does he actually see the whole operation? So that port captain got fired. I don't feel bad for him, because, hey, baby, you take people money, you do your job. You don't do your job, you're cheating. You deserve to be fired, okay? At least that's the way I see it. So I'm glad my customer fired that guy, because otherwise, my ship goes there and that port captain doesn't do his job. How am I going to know that my ship is being protected with all those fraud, basically performed by the local shippers? So anyway, that's something about port captain. It's not all the port captains are, equally good. Technically, they could. You look at the resume, yes, but their performance, I don't know. students punch in, attendance there, but looking at the cell phone or laptops all the time. Until you take a test on the knowledge the student acquired in class, you don't know about the performance. Or let alone didn't even show up, right? Same thing. Port captain, same thing. So let's move on, right? And looking at the time, it's already 40 minutes into the clock. All right. So we're talking about pretty much, why do you need to insure and what you need to know in this whole process that actually has a lot to do with the insurance. And let's see. So when you have a piece of insurance policy, there'll be terms, right? The main terms of the policy. Can you interpret that? I would have no problem to go into the details of the term policy, or the policy term rather. But the thing is, one, we're limited in time. I'm not sure how many people will watch the video through, so I guess I will have to respect the fact that we don't have enough time to go into the detail because the policy term is rather sophisticated and very technical, okay? And then for me, that was more than a course. And for you guys, just the one class, I don't think I can address that sufficiently, properly, appropriately. And the other reason that I will not go into detail for that is you're not going to need it, okay? You leave this to the IHB, the insurance house broker. That's their technicality, their expertise. I don't care, 1PO, 2PO, 3PO, 4PO, you're not supposed to interpret the policy, okay? That's why you pay other people to do it. Even when I had a small business and I was, doing things like that, I didn't really take all that time, get into it. I don't know how much your employer will pay you per hour. It's just not worth it. Just leave it to the professionals to handle, okay? That's about the term, the policy term. You do need to understand the basic things about them, but as far as it's like a health insurance policy. It's like a novel coming in, and you're supposed to sign, okay? Before you, okay, officially I am the employee of this company. You sign. Not tell me. Did you read everything and understand everything? By my training, the legal training I had, you don't sign nothing until you absolutely understand it. You raise questions and you get answers and then you sign, right? I'm telling you, nobody questioned that insurance policy, the health insurance. Why? It's so standard. It's the same for you and for any John Jack and your boss, your boss, your boss, boss. So why question? Do you want to give up the job? No. Okay, so you just sign. This is basically the same thing. The insurance policy, marine cargo insurance policy, typically by the carrier who has been around long before your grandpa was born. A lot of them are simply just that old, okay? So the policy has been there, good for everybody. Typically, if you challenge, do you think you get a chance they will let you negotiate and change the terms for you? I doubt it. So what's the point? But it's up to your insurance broker to tell you why you want to go with certain carrier as versus others, because the insurance policy term here and there, the differences. Of course, they should know. You expect to know, right? Or they don't. They pretend they know, but at least they know better than you do. So that was the reason why I'm not going into the policy term today, because that can take, I'm telling you, if you take the class every day, I won't be able to finish the whole thing within 1 month. Okay, so that's that. So what's the insured subject? Insured subject is whatever you put, like in auto insurance, your car is the subject, right? And so we already talked about the procedure, I believe. Yes, the claim adjust procedure. We did talk about that. And then when we let's see, what do we know about the terms of policy? Okay, so here, certain terms you have to know what it means, okay? Not those sophisticated technical terms, but something you hear all the time. Force majeure, what does that mean? one way to put it by many is called God act. Okay, whatever happened, natural disaster or whatever. Basically, it's beyond the human controllable effort. That's force majeure for you. And then there is war risks. In most cases, war risks is well. Let's finish up on the force majeure. If something happened and declared as force majeure, falls right into that category, that means nobody's responsible. Otherwise, we can always argue, oh no, actually that was your responsible. Your action, your decision actually caused this loss and damage. So nevertheless, I am not to accept the contribution that you allocate to me for me to accept. Oh, that part, right? No, force majeure, nobody's responsible. I need to be careful. I'm not going to say he's responsible, but he's the only one who can make this happen. Okay. So again, the other one is war risks. Okay, that is something the marine cargo by standardized coverage does not cover. Okay. Let's say U.S. and China, People's Republic of China, decided to go, bump their head over the South China Sea. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say, let's speculate a little bit more. So the Navy on both sides, they were just trading wars. They're showing the muscles. And when that happens, everybody get concerned. Whoa, because that's a main shipping lane. A lot of commercial ships, traffic going through. And people are like, my cargo is at risk. Oh, don't worry about it. It's marine cargo insurance covered. Well, I'm telling you guys, got the news. It's not covered. You have to pay for this separate premium, and pretty expensive in most cases under war risks. Of course, this is just a little exaggeration. I don't believe China and U.S. will, get into real, war over the South China Sea. They may have their proxy agents fighting somewhere else over some little chicken thing. Yeah. So, but how about Syria, right? There's always a real risk somewhere in the world. So if you're shipping into that region or going through that region, there is a war risk, and you have to cover that if the underwriter actually does underwriting that risk at that time. Okay. Of course, smart thing is you probably don't want to even do that anyway. So what next? Oh, premium deductible, right? It works same way because hey, you guys, you got your auto insurance, so you know what deductible is, and the premium, right? So what you probably haven't heard though here is one word called co-insurance. So what is co-insurance? Co-insurance is basically, it's beyond you. You don't have to know. But let's say you decide one day you want to actually go into the insurance business as a transition, before you land the next job, kind of in between the job, you want to work for the insurance companies. Co-insurance is basically something between the two insurance companies. Okay, so two of them split to take on the risks, that somehow they just decided they don't want to go alone. So the insurance carriers, okay, or insurance companies, typically this is how they work in general, okay? They take the premium from everybody. Hopefully nothing happens with anyone, right? And it works the same as the auto insurance or your house insurance, so if, let's say, arbitrarily 10,000 people paid me for their insurance, each one paid $100, right? So we have 10,000, and then we have the 100, so premium $100 per month, multiplied by 10,000. That's my premium income, month by month. And boom, this guy submitted a claim. It costs, let's say, $20,000. Right? So I'm gambling here. I'm betting. Okay, they do not have that frequent claim, because if they all do, I'll be in trouble financially. So for insurance company, the bigger subscriber group, okay, or insured, the bigger money pool the insurance carrier does have. So it's better odds there. That's why you typically find the premium lower if this is a bigger insurance company, because they cover bigger group. And what do they do with the money? They don't sit on the money, okay? They use the money, the smart ones, put in a bank. The bank said, oh, we see this substantial asset, and they put the money there, and they borrow against that, and then they have even more than just the cash sitting there, right? Now they have the big credit, and then they put that into investment, okay? Make their money to produce baby money. And then the grandparents from the first generation, and then the generation Z, okay, keep going to basically regenerate the profit for them. And what do? They put in the portfolios of those hedge fund or whatever, right? So we all heard that Mr. Warren Buffett got his investors in trouble because he put his portfolio, a lot of money, into the airlines. And today, with the COVID-19, oops, a big oops, U.S. government, Uncle Sam. If Uncle Sam wants to step in and do this, chapter 11 or 14, whatever, to basically rescue, how would me as the, this one little taxpayer think? You got it. Richest person on earth over there receiving the taxpayers' money to bail him out, whereas I may not even have enough for my next breakfast. Oh, by the way, I didn't have breakfast today. You didn't hear me coughing today. Maybe I couldn't afford a breakfast. How would I feel about Uncle Sam helping Mr. Warren Buffett? I like the guy, okay? He pitched all his money away for charity. Noble. But still, you're doing business for business. Even you personally are not doing it to benefit yourself. But all those investors, are they worth the taxpayer, humble little guy, Joe, my money to save him? I don't think so. So I'm not sure Uncle Sam, well, in this case, or old Donald is going to go do that. But you never know. That guy, he's got a character. So anyway, back to the point where I was. That was about the co-insurance, right? And what's reinsurance? This is just one guy, okay? The insurance carrier, Mr. Smith, okay? He took in this insurance, and he doesn't have enough money to back it up, or he thinks this risk is too much, so he sold it. But of course, there's certain calculation formula, algorithm. He's gonna make sure he made enough money, and then sell this part of this insurance to the next guy in line, another fellow competition insurance company. Obviously, the other guy is not doing this for charity. He wants to make money too. But reinsurance is referring to that guy, okay, taking part of this. So this happens a lot between the different insurance companies. Unless you work for them, you don't really need to know, okay? And then, let's see, blah, 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 blah. The financial damage not covered by marine cargo insurance, which we just talked about a little earlier. And then the general average clause. This is something very technical, but you will probably hear a lot about it once you're going into the business. Both in the bills of lading and charter party, remember charter party, and the booking notes, you will find the word general average clause, okay? It's one clause by itself. a lot of things probably beyond your comprehension, but let me just break it down for you in essence. Let's say, which happens all the time, a ship captain, the ship is sinking, okay? And the ship captain has the duty and obligation and the right to decide what could he do in his best knowledge, given the situation, all things considered, to save the ship. Of course, we have the crew on the ship and also a lot of cargo. So basically come down to, okay, I'm going to have to dump down some of the stuff and toss them over the board into the sea. So hopefully with the reduce the weight to regain the balance under certain circumstances, the ship can regain the balance, right? So the captain said, okay, anything in that area, in general area, okay, point it. So the crew said, what do we do, sir? Dump them, throw them overboard. So I don't know how they do that, but we're talking about this thing probably from 200 years ago when the British had all their midshipmen. Midshipmen refers to, in other cases, would be cadets, but when you're in the Navy or Merchant Marine, young little guys are called midshipmen because their bunkers or cabins are in the middle of the ship, well protected because they're young. Even as of today, the British, they go to the maritime school probably at age 12 and graduate at 15, and they became officer before you even graduate from high school. So anyway, that's the thing. So the captain decided, okay, toss those things overboard, and so it goes. And then for that part of a loss, the argument would, without this clause, general average clause, the argument would be from the shippers like, hey, you were the one told your crew that to toss my cargo over the board. You got to pay me, okay? I'm not going to pay anything, but you pay. With the general average clause, this is basically the thing the captain did in consideration to save the entire cargo and crew is justifiable. So general average, that means, okay, you pay some, I pay some as the steamship line. That's what it means. And so you will see a lot of that. So that's why do I mention this? That's not covered by marine cargo insurance. Okay, if it falls into that category, the insurance carrier, they're happy. Yes. Okay. So what else? I provided a link. If you want to go further into details about the general average, I have a link here on the Blackboard where this class content is. So click on that link and read. It's a PDF document. Right. Okay. And so what that is, that PDF, the title of that, let me read out for you, is General Average Cost Review of Sea Accidents 2019. So once you read that, you will see how often the sea accident happens. So when you read that, you would understand the rationale of the sheer existence of marine cargo insurance. And then I think I already covered before about how to collect the evidence to support your claim and how the procedure goes to interact with the allocated claim adjuster to adjust your claim, and then and I also mentioned about the port captains and surveyors and marine insurance inspectors. Okay. Just go back a little bit on the point of that claim. When you claim, you gotta have the estimated financial damage. You cannot just say, "Oh, here it is," but you have to specify, quantify. Okay. Of course, what happened and as the impact or direct consequence of what happened, the financial damage to you is estimated, blah blah blah, so they can pay you. And of course, that's why the insurance investors exist. They have to agree with you on your claim. And so I already mentioned the project insurance, and here's one more insurance, which is basically for the steamship lines. I don't know, some of you already started working for steamship line, but not all employees need to know at a steamship line about this, but it's called ship hull insurance. It's an insurance that steamship line have to put on. Let's say they have a sea accident happen. So all the other insurance cover very little about the ship itself. So they want to insure on the ship itself. It's called ship hull insurance. Who take this insurance? Almost nobody among the insurance carriers, because it's too much to pay, okay? And it happened from 1970s, maybe I could name the country, especially in Greece, okay? There were certain specific crew members, they intentionally sank the ship so that steamship line can make the claim, and that's a lot of money, okay? So of course, such crew members are always on the blacklist, among the insurance companies, and because of the behavior in pattern. So so what do? They call the ship owners club. So all the ship owners, they pull their money in to provide this insurance. It's their own money, okay? But they're just helping brothers each other out. Sorry, I shouldn't say brother and sisters. Yeah, everybody's covered. And so the ship owners club provide that ship hull insurance. So in case something happened, everybody, my money put out there to save you or help you. Provided, no fraud. Okay. So what else? Okay, so here talk about a self-insurance, and I already explained why, and I do know for a fact one of the biggest oil companies do that. How effectively, that part of data never transparent, so I don't know how that works for them, so I cannot tell you. Not too many companies do self-insurance. And I explained why the self-insurance. So we're almost at the bottom. Well, actually, we already exceeded bottom of the hour, so we have a few minutes to go to wrap this up. So having learned all this in this class about the insurance, and if you're in a position to pick an insurance carrier in what we learned about procurement. So how do you procure insurance carrier, right? The first thing you want to know is their adjustment procedure, okay? And let me share with you a little insight. When I was working for a steamship line, we don't advertise that. Nobody outside our own office, not even the colleagues from different department, knew about our policy. Anything back then under 50,000 US dollars claim, we don't even look at it. Okay, just get it out of the way. So we don't want other people to know, because we don't want other people to keep doing this as a fraud. But the point here is, once your claim amount, mounting to a certain level beyond the threshold, which each company has different, guideline, then they will take a lot of time, effort. But think about this. They have to hire insurance investor, and they have not many company keep a bunch of qualified claim adjuster, because basically that costs money. But once they see the claim is at the amount that's significant enough, they will allocate a resource to make sure at least what you claim is, I guess, just justifiable, reasonable, okay? If it gets too big, they will fight you. They will come up with excuses and that, technicality. Oh, did you study your policy terms, stuff like that. They will dismiss or partially reject. Okay, this happens in the medical field. Okay, in the medical field, there's a doctor office here, and there's the patients, and then the big guys, the third party, because the medical guys or doctors could be ladies, and the patients, they're working, right? So they submit to the insurance company. The insurance company doesn't even know anymore. It's the third party. The claim is handled by them. So basically, the medical professional give them, right, the claim. And they say, no, this is not good, that is not good, and they kick it, back to you. And then eventually they will come up with some kind of compromise. So the patient's on the other side, what's going on, man? You don't know. Guess what insurance companies are doing? They don't know either. Okay? So that's about claim adjustment. Be careful there. So when you do the procurement, you want to first study the pattern, the practice of their claim, adjust procedure. Do they typically just, basically push back on everything and anything? Well, the heck with them. You don't want them, okay? And beyond that, what else? So one more point adding to that. Don't just be lured by their lower premium. Okay, so the other guys cost, basically premium is like 1%, and this guy's only 0.5%. Oh, nice, baby. Let's go. No. All that premium, eventually at the point of a claim, and they don't adjust, so you just paid all the premium for nothing. I think this is general, idea of the common wisdom when you choose auto insurance or insurance for your house roof. Same thing. I already talked about how they make money, the insurance carrier, in case one day you want to become an insurance carrier. Oh, Jesus, man, you've got to have a lot of money. And so on the assignment, we have one definitely required video, which is basically this video. And I will explain a little bit why we watch this video. Okay, this has nothing to do with maritime or marine cargo or air cargo, but it's an insurance changing in pattern. And I think this is the SCMT. This is the T part. With this element kicks in, the insurance company, the way they operate in the past 2 or 3 or even more, hundreds of years, has not really fundamentally been changed. There has not been disruption until now. This is why you need to watch this video called Tesla Insurance Will Dominate and Transform the Insurance Industry. Okay, this is required. You have to watch this. That's the assignment for this week. So that's it, folks. Stay safe, as I always say, and I'll see you next class. Thank you very much.